We always call it lava and lasers, right? We're melting silver. You saw it back. We pour the silver bars, but then we got this crazy technology too. We laser our pouches for our starter pack, things like that. So we call it lava and lasers. So I think that makes it really exciting.
As a provider, our goal here is to provide this enterprise level, professional level spot price that our customers can rely on. This not only real time, but is reliable and is accurate.
Mistakes that we see clients make often, especially when they go with like an e-commerce platform like a Shopify or these third parties that will do the currency conversion for you. The problem with that is their feed is delayed and sometimes even only daily, which is a very big problem. So you can't have that. You're going to get burned big time.
AI is going to take over all the coding jobs and there won't be any coding jobs soon. I'll just say I'm not scared.
We try to trade off of our index, which is your index.
Well, fun fact.
They're a client of ours.
Wow.
Yep.
You're listening to the Asset Arsenal podcast. Today I'm joined by Joe and Nathan Bell, the brothers behind Nfusion Solutions, a company building the tech that powers the modern precious metals market. We're talking about the spot price, how it's set, and the technology shaping the industry's future.
Joe and Nathan, welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hey.
Welcome to DFW. You guys are here. You guys are here this week. I'm assuming you're hitting a lot of spots. DFW is a great spot for Bullion, which we are benefactors of, obviously. So, tell me a little about yourself. I mean, it's kind of unusual. Well, maybe not that unusual to see brothers working together. I mean, I have my brother right here. You have your brother there, so we're related in that sense. But give me an idea of how you guys came together to form Nfusion. Kind of what roads took you to the conclusion, what you saw in the market, those kind of things. We're excited to hear it.
Yeah. All right. I'll kick it off. Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
This is cool. It's a last minute type thing here to come in, and it's great to be here. So we've actually been working together for quite a while before we started Nfusion. This guy here, he's our we call him the wizard. And so he's our CTO. And so we were doing technology in the financial services space for about 10 years before we founded Nfusion together.
Right.
And I was more on the business side, and I had gone in and actually he said, "Hey, you need to check out this company." So this is actually in Texas, Austin. We started at CyberTrader back in the day. So cut our teeth, got in the financial services business, and learned about the different technologies and licensing and those types of things. So, and he worked on the data side and sourcing large amounts of data from exchanges and working on ticker plants and all these elements of live data. And then on the trading side, so that's where I was at. And although he worked on that technology too, but the trading, so CyberTrader at the time was doing the day trading direct access. And this is back in the late 90s and early 2000s. So we were involved in that whole thing and the dot-com bust, and no one would go out to lunch and they'd bring in the pizzas and you'd stay all day, and it was crazy town.
Yeah. So you guys had a front row seat there.
Oh, and it was, the big parties and the laser light shows out at the lake and the whole thing. And so that company got acquired by Schwab.
Okay.
And I had moved on to get my licenses and was working in the brokerage and those types of things. And then we'd gone our separate ways as far as out of the company, and we'd switched up a couple things, and he had several stints as a, CTO or senior developer, and even got his trading for a while and worked in trading. So I'll let you go into that. But so we had a pretty broad range of experience within the financial services and several different roles, and
right on.
And learning a lot of cool technology and market dynamics and things like that. And gosh, it was probably, I don't know, at least 7 years, maybe even longer. So we started Nfusion in 2011.
2011. Okay.
And bootstrap nights and weekends kind of deal with the vision.
I feel ya.
Yeah. Kind of a vision and not fully sure what we were going to do. In fact, that's where, things got really interesting. We can dive into that later, but that's how we got started. We had a lot of background in financial services and different parts of the companies and things like that. And what really was the impetus for us with the vision of where we want to go with the company was really the cloud. So when the cloud came in, 2000s, early 2000, the opportunity to have, if someone could write code and you could run a business, get a business going, and you didn't have to have this, multi-million-dollar data structure and own all the servers and all the things. So the barrier to entry came down significantly for the types of things we wanted to do. And so we had some ideas, and we actually initially went after the traditional banks and brokerages and the companies that I had been managing in my roles, and we'd been servicing. And that was our initial vision, is to go after that market segment, and things changed.
Well, yeah,
over a couple
I mean,
years.
that was familiar to you, right?
Yeah.
And so it seemed like you could see a fit there. So obviously, I'm exposed to the product. I launched Hero Bullion in 2020, and you were one of the first products that we brought on board and integrated. And so, for those that don't know, where we use Nfusion is for our spot price feeds, for our charting on our website. So when someone goes to our charts page, pulls the chart, you guys are providing the data. And you guys dress it up for us in our brand colors and all that. And then also a functionality that we use every day, dozens, hundreds of times a day, is the pricing function. So we're able to bring a product in, apply the premium, calculate what our COGS are on it in terms of what it costs from our supplier and what markup we need to fulfill it, and all those kinds of things. And so it's varied tool for us. But the benefit is really immeasurable, and I'm your customer and telling you that.
Yeah,
I mean,
appreciate it.
So don't hurt me for that.
It's
But
good to hear.
yeah, we love it.
Yep.
We've been with you guys 5 years, and so my question to you is, like, I'm real familiar with my analogs or cohorts that are using your services. How did you discover our industry? Because it sounds like maybe it was a little bit unfamiliar to you.
It's totally by accident.
Yeah. So how'd that happen?
Completely by accident.
Yeah, well, I think kind of building on what Joe said, we came from many collective years in the financial industry, from multiple sides in terms of the brokerage side, both of us having been registered brokers at some point in our careers, and I had spent many years building software and systems for primarily equities trading, but sort of traditional financial markets and the instruments that can be traded there. As Joe mentioned, as a bootstrap startup, we knew that we can't just take on the big boys directly. And so we started by leveraging partners and working with partners as an integrator initially, as a way to not only get our foot in the door, but also to be able to work on larger scale projects without necessarily having the name and the brand yet to be able to approach banks and so on our own. So by leveraging partnerships in the industry that we had, and through contacts that Joe had, we were able to get our foot in the door at some small banks and that kind of thing.
Well, we did have to deal with Bank of New York, so
and some not small banks.
It was a little project, but it was still Bank of New York.
That's true.
So that was pretty cool.
Big bank, small project.
Yeah. They had no idea who we were. So.
Yeah, they still don't, I'm sure. Yeah. But also through those partnerships, we were exposed to some opportunities in this space, which neither one of us were familiar with basically at all.
Mm-hmm.
And what we began to notice fairly early on is there's a lot of opportunity in this space, so precious metals, but I would say even broader in alternative assets. There's a lot of opportunity to bring some of the things that traditional finance has enjoyed for a while in terms of lowered friction, lowered execution costs, increased transparency, that are, in my opinion, good for everyone involved. It's good for the consumer. It's good for the retailer. It's good for the wholesaler. It's good for the market. So, that led to us having opportunities to try to bring that same kind of our technology know-how and our experience in the space into these assets.
Yeah, and it was really a couple of partners of ours, and actually one of them we still work with, Six Financial. They're I think the largest. Well, they own the Swiss Stock Exchange, but they're a big European company that have a huge presence here. They're like a Thomson Reuters, and we've been working with them from the beginning. And so one of our sources for spot price data and the things that we do, we source from multiple exchanges. They're one of them. One of our partners. We can dive into that. I say
I would love to.
I say repeatedly.
That's one of my questions.
Oh yeah, and it's a fun topic because it was very telling for us. That's a little bit of a different story, but it took us a little while to figure out that people in this industry didn't even really know how things worked, which was like, oh, okay. At first, we were like, wait a second, how do you not okay, wait a second. All right. So that's a whole thing, but especially with spot prices, and so it was an interesting journey for us to first of all get exposed to the market, and then realize that not a lot of people that were even in the market really fully understood what the terms were and what they're really asking for and how the things worked. So we had to figure that out. And along that journey, we realized that there was not a really good source for spot price data, not a reliable, even from a very large reputable exchange,
Agreed.
because of the nature of it being over the counter market data.
Yep.
They didn't give two rips about it, and they didn't, not a lot of people used it and all the things. So we went down a very long journey to build infrastructure to source from multiple exchanges to make the best, most redundant, available quality feed that was never down. All the things that clients that we wanted to work with that wanted to work with us for that reliability.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation of everything we do. So I have no qualm saying, hey, we have the best spot price feed in the market.
I would agree.
In the world, and for good reason. So. And for those that care, and some people don't care, and they just scrape data or do whatever. And I get it, but so we learned a lot of lessons going in. We actually got referred to our first client through a partner of ours, and we as a one-off deal.
Right.
And we're like, hey, we'll take any nickels we can get at this point, right? We're just trying to make some money and get this thing off the ground. So sure, we'll do this one-off development job.
Yeah.
And so we did that for a precious metals company. And then there was another referral came and they said, hey, can you build this little project? And can you do this project for precious metals? And I think it was either the second or third project that we did. And we thought, what is this market? Like,
we
who
keep
are
doing
these
this.
people? Yeah. What is going on here? And that's where, as Nathan said, we once we slowed down and we kind of looked and we said, wait, this is a super niche market. I mean, it's a very big global market.
Right.
But super small at the same time.
You have people running multi-million-dollar businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars, off of literally paper and spreadsheets,
right?
Which was kind of astounding to us, coming from the more traditional financial industry. So again, plenty of opportunity to make people's lives easier. And over the years, among other things, one of the things that we've heard many, many times is just how much time we give back to business owners in this space who are trying to run a precious metals business by just switching to our tools from these much more manual, labor-intensive ways of doing things.
And really that risk mitigation, that's what we talk about, quite a bit, and the slippage, especially this last year. I mean, if anything, we've seen, we were up 60 something on gold today. And, it's all over the place. And so now more than ever, the things that we're providing with the, real-time data and the tools to reprice and the integrations that we're doing and offering our clients, it's putting real time back, but it's also, it's giving them peace of mind in reducing the slippage in the market. And we can get into a whole thing of new service we've launched and all the things, but originating from the actual market makers and wholesalers. Closing the loop is the newest piece that we're rolling out, integrating wholesalers with our retail, because we really have 200 plus clients all over the world, primarily North America, but all over the world at this point. And we've pretty much from the beginning, we provided the spot price data and our product, what we call our product pricing catalog, which is really the Bullion pricing engine.
Yep.
So it's a real-time pricing calculator with a suite of APIs that you can then pull into, whatever platform you want, e-commerce or wherever. And so there's a centralized pricing engine that then you can distribute that pricing to wherever you need it. And so we've done that essentially from the beginning. And now we're going even one step even further back from the originator of the pricing itself with the market makers and the wholesalers, and integrating them to complete that loop. So really giving a kind of a soup to nuts pricing component, so that our retail dealers, who are our primary clients, and wholesalers too, and refiners, but primarily retailers that need that real-time pricing as tight as they can get it for the end investor to be able to have a quality price that's also, and kind of back to something Nathan said, the things that we're doing, we're super excited about, because we feel like it's good for everybody, including the investor, because what you have when you have risk with price slippage is you have this component of markup that is only there to cover because the inefficiency
Yeah.
of the process, right? And a lot of people don't think about that, and
Yeah.
certainly, the end investor, of course, doesn't know anything about that. But as experts in this space now, and certainly anyone that's running a business that is trying to sell and keep the pricing, they fully aware of that. There's a component of risk in the movement that if it's not completely full, if you don't have complete control over that you really do have to add in a certain margin to allow yourself to not take, basically a loss, sell something at a loss and those types of things. So what we're doing is we're making it more efficient in that way. We're reducing risk for everyone in the line. And what that will ultimately do is reduce price for everyone as well.
Yeah.
So we're super
efficient
excited about
markets,
that.
efficient markets. Yeah. So we do take on a lot of what we think of internally just as exposure. So we take a payment by a paper check. We'll allow that customer to execute and hope that the check arrives, in a timely fashion. And so we do extend a lot of trust that way. When it comes to the spot price, one of the things I want to get into is, if you could, in, real basic terms, explain, because we get asked this question all the time. And, for us, a lot of it, the canned response is, well, we pay Nfusion Solutions, who aggregates and produces the spot price for us. They're the industry standard for spot pricing, so we're not aligned with that, right? And so we know that there's a lot of mystery around it, where the spot price comes from. So can you explain that quick for listeners?
Well, it won't be quick.
As quick as possible.
Yeah,
the 30,000 foot view. Where does this come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one place to start, again, going back to our history in equities markets, is it's not like equities markets where a security is listed on an exchange, and that's maybe its exchange of record, and whatever it last executed at, whatever it last traded at, is the official price of that thing. That does not exist for spot price. It does exist for futures contracts, which are somewhat loosely related to the spot price. But some of the direct correlation that used to exist there between futures contracts and spot prices has kind of, the market's changed the way that works. And I won't go into the details of that. But so how does it work now? So now you have, let's say, a lot of competing unofficial prices. And in a certain sense, the market is kind of all over the place, which makes it hard to point at one authority and say, this is the price. However,
Kitco.
Yeah.
For the longest time, that was like, oh.
I mean, it still is. It still is. We're a
yeah.
member of a bunch of dealer networks, and a lot of the older crowd is Kitco. We try to trade off of our index, which is your index.
Well, fun fact.
They're a client of ours.
Wow.
Yep. This is this last month.
Yeah.
So now when people say Kitco, it'll be one of the
We
same.
all know what they're saying.
That's us. So a little bit about how the sausage is made. So as a provider, our goal here is to provide this enterprise level, professional level spot price that our customers can rely on. This not only real time, but is reliable and is accurate. And so in order to do that, we have to consume a whole bunch of different sources, and then we have to use magic. We have to use algorithms to examine that data. We aggregate it, but we also do complicated scoring and other things to determine the relative accuracy of that in the marketplace. So it's more like, instead of there being, again, an official last price from an exchange, like this is what IBM just traded at, a nanosecond ago, which would be the official price. It's more that across the universe of market makers. So this would be, for example, banks between themselves that have these interbank rates, or it's a quoted market. It's not an executed market. So they have these quotes to each other of the spot price of what they're willing to buy and sell this precious metal at. We aggregate all those, and we decide who's being naughty and who's being nice. And if you're naughty, you don't get to play right now. And if you're being nice, you do get to play right now. So, for example, what would naughty be? Naughty would be late. Okay. You haven't updated your quote in a really long time. Naughty could be you're way out of the market and you have no business being that far out of the market.
You're the outlier.
So you're naughty. Now, sometimes somebody's way out of the market because the market's about to move there and they're first. So it does get complicated. But more or less, if you're being really naughty because you're very late or you're way out of the market, then you don't get to play right now. We also have what we call confidence levels. So various market makers have a history, and we've been doing this for more than a decade. So we know that some have a history of being more naughty than others. So we give them the naughty ones lower confidence scores. And so it's harder for them to get into the group that's playing nice. Not impossible, because sometimes they're right and some of the nice guys are wrong. But in any case, we arrive at, let's say, an agreement across the whole market of what approximately the spot price is.
Approximately.
Yes. Or let's
excellent.
say that's our best ability to aggregate a spot price at that moment.
Yeah.
And then that's our official price.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit complicated in that sense, but it's also relatively simple. Again, it's just, hey, let's look at what all the major players are quoting right now, and we'll aggregate them, score them, and pick the best price. In traded markets and equity markets, you might call this the BBO, or the best bid and offer, but we find what that best bid and that best ask are, and that creates the spread for that particular metal, whether it be gold or silver, platinum, palladium, et cetera.
But we definitely feel your pain, because I'm sure you get asked, like you said, from your clients quite frequently, especially those that are doing the research and they're looking at the different sites and they're saying, well, why is your spot price this and why is their spot price that, and all those things. And there's not a real easy way to explain that.
Well, I think the new user, maybe even some of the seasoned users, and I'm talking about the retail, our customers, they assume wrongly that there is a spot price, a single agreed upon, almost like a fix, but a perpetual fix, right? And so obviously that doesn't exist in our world. If you go to different exchanges to buy Apple stock, you're going to be quoted different prices depending on which exchange you're on and what their VIG is, basically. And so, explaining that to someone in a 30-second conversation or helping them understand, I think the one thing that trips up people a lot is just the disparity when it comes to retail facing websites and their spot pricing, right?
Yes.
And so that's unfortunate. It would be really nice if there was an agreed upon spot price. It sounds like you guys are working on that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, that would be great for us. Yeah, we would love to be that standard, and I think and we are working towards that.
Absolutely,
and it's a great thing. And I think for us, obviously, we'd love that, but also for the market, because it is that is helpful to have a standardization of, at least to a certain extent, to have a little bit of a normalization. But even when you look at the wholesalers, those who are making the market, and they have different sources, from originating from themselves. Either they're generating it from a futures price, which is a very common practice because they're trading futures and hedging. So they obviously want to stay very close to that, that futures price and that hedge rate that they have. And then they're generating a premium over that. So quoting over that. So they are essentially generating their own spot trading price. So it's going to be different than the next wholesaler down the street, as they're doing a similar practice, but not the exact same.
And
so even their pricing from them, not from an exchange, is going to be different.
And to add on to that, some of them are juicing it more than others.
Right. Yep. So their premiums are,
we know that. When we see someone's offer sheet, we're connected with all the major wholesalers. We see someone's offer sheet. There's always kind of the little Barry Bonds asterisks. These guys, their index is 10 cents higher, in silver, and so maybe it's not all about premium, because our world exists in premiums,
right?
We go to coin shows. We were just at a coin show a couple of weeks ago, and we're quoting bullion in premium, because that's what we do here. What is a Silver Eagle? Silver Eagle's a $5 product right now, right? And so someone come and say, how much are Silver Eagles? They're $5. They're like, what?
Yeah.
They get tripped up. They're like, no.
Send me a box.
Talk on premiums.
Right.
So the other thing that I was thinking about as you were talking, there is such a wide breadth of potential users for your product. And you guys kind of got into it a little bit earlier when we were talking about these guys running these multi-million-dollar companies, 9-figure companies in top line off of spreadsheets and, paper, right? So you do have those kind of users, and then you have the much more sophisticated users out there. So I think there's probably more growth potential in the smaller guys. You're taking away this barrier to entry, really bringing up their game quite a bit when it comes to what they're not referencing the Kitco app on their phone, basically. They have something that's reliable, and you mentioned uptime. I don't think we've ever really experienced an outage that's been noticeable, right? So, I know the product that we have from you integrates with the website technology, and that's our rule. Do you have any type of app that someone can subscribe to that way and get Spot just via app form versus integrating with their own platform? Let's say they don't have a website, they're a mom and pop store. Do you have any product for those kind of users?
We do build mobile apps, so iOS and Android, but not really we have widgets and things like that, but
like
so
embed widgets, right?
Yeah. So you could do, our chart, we call it charts and widgets. Basically widget is anything that's not a chart.
Yeah.
So a ticker or table or things like that have the spot price data live in it. And then you can put on any website or even in-store display, those types of things.
Yeah.
So in person. So we do have some components of that. And we do have quite a few clients actually that don't have the pricing engine, that just have the live data piece to it. Yeah. And we do make that pretty easy for them to integrate with.
Yeah. So it's made a big difference here at Hero Bullion, because without getting too technical, the way we used to run our catalog pricing at Provident, we would call on Xignite was our provider at the time. We would call Xignite in, and they would say, "Hey, silver's $46," and then the work would start on our server, right? And so you guys are starting to grin. You know where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
We experience load, right? For those that aren't familiar, when we have a busy day or a heavy day, we're not just seeing like double the revenue. We're seeing 8, 9, 10. We had a day earlier this year. I think it was like 14 times average order count and revenue. So it's not just a couple of big orders coming in, right? So your platform's going to experience a tremendous amount of load, right? And what we experienced at Provident is we would pull in the spot price of silver, $46, whatever, and it would start with the work on the website. Okay, this is this, and it would just go through the whole catalog. Well, when you're under load, what happens is the bottom half of the catalog never gets updated in pricing before the job starts again, right? And so the product that you all have, we just pipe the price straight in. You guys bear all of that burden of delivering the end price. Oh, and by the way, you do it much more frequently than we were able to do, right? And so just you talk about the end user experiencing a more efficient market. Heck yes. Like you guys are a big part of helping us deliver that. And so obviously we appreciate it. You mentioned apps, you mentioned widgets. You briefly mentioned the wholesale integration. Yep. You want to talk a little bit more about the wholesale integration and kind of what's coming down the pipe for Nfusion Solutions?
Yeah. Before you go to that, though, I'd like to hit on something you hit on. And I think this is a really important point. And that is, it's really efficient in business to focus on what you're good at, right? And where your skills are, where your experience is. And if you're a metals guy and you know the metals market, then focus on that. And you're not a technologist, so don't try to do that. And some of the mistakes that, and this is not particular to the metals market, that the business owners will make is they're excellent in their business niche, but they're not technologists. But they try to take that on anyway. And the vast majority, and I am a technologist. This is what I've been doing for 30 years. Is what I'm an expert at. I'm not a metals trader. I don't plan on ever being one. It's not my expertise. And as much as I know about the market, having been in it for 14 years, I still don't know the things that you know about it as an expert in that. And so let's both be experts at what we're expert at, and let's work together, right? And so to that point, I'm really, really good at making lots of data do things really quickly. I've been doing that for a very long time. It scales much more massive than what we're dealing with here for huge international firms, at Wall Street speeds. This is actually relatively easy compared to that, honestly. And so let me do that part. I'll make your spot quotes and your pricing. I'll make them instantaneous. and it'll be easy. And you handle the gold trading, and that'll be easy for you,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what, as a technology shop, yes, we're in the financial space, but we don't trade metals, but we enable others to do that using modern technology that is real time. It's always up. It's in the cloud. It's very cost effective because, as Joe mentioned kind of earlier in the podcast, the nature of the cloud makes what we do orders of magnitude, like 10 times essentially less expensive to run the same kind of business that it would have, let's say, 20 years ago when I was earlier in my career. The same kind of technology would be much more expensive for us to make, and we would have to obviously then sell it to you guys at a much higher price. And so this advancement in technology allows us as technologists to offer into this industry the same kind of advantages and the same kind of efficiencies that the big boys get at reasonable prices.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that the industry has definitely changed a lot, even since we started 15 years ago.
I would agree.
And folks are starting to. I remember when we first got started, I would say API, and folks would just like, what?
Glaze over.
Oh my goodness! And you can do. They just like, I just want you to build it and ship it to me, and I want to put it on my computer underneath my desk.
Now we overuse it. We're like API.
API
Which
everything,
API?
yeah.
Which API?
That's right.
Come on, you got to be specific.
Punch that into Chat GPT, and so we're excited because now the industry, to a certain extent, is maturing and catching up and starting to ask for the things that we've had for quite a while. So it makes my job a little easier. I'm doing less education and more integration. So we're very excited about that. And with that integration piece now are the wholesale side of things. So for a very long time, we've had a vision of integrating with wholesalers, but the issue has been the wholesale technology, right? Even though FizTrade has been out there for quite a while and is a very robust platform, and they've done an excellent job. They were definitely visionary in terms of what they did when they did it, and have continued to invest in that. And I think that's definitely paid off for them, and will continue to do so. And we want to be a part of that with them and other wholesalers that provide that technology, because for us, we see ourselves as just that integrator, right? As you see with many other industries, you have a whole companies built their entire company on integrating Salesforce and these ERPs and things like that. So in a similar way, and we're providing other services, but in a very similar way when it comes to the product pricing and distribution, that's what we're doing now, is that the industry has matured to the point where the retailers in our main customer base are asking for these integrations, right? We're not having to fully educate them on how it works. And they've had experience with our tools for a while now. Mm-hmm. So now they are starting to understand, some more than others, how it actually works. And they're starting to get it. They're starting to know that, okay, I can take your spot price, I can punch it in my engine, I have my catalog, I can distribute that, and I can pull in via API data from my wholesaler too. Well, now I can connect all that up. And that's what we're just releasing now as our wholesale integration services. And so, like I said before, we've always had this pricing engine where, folks can log in, they have the real-time spot price, and they can put in their margins, their markups, all the business logic, and they can get that to their website. Well, that's just 3/4 of the piece of the pie, right? And they would have to either call or get an email or get a fax or, whatever from their wholesaler or multiple wholesalers to figure out what the premium is that day. And they would have to go in and change that, manually and make sure they weren't out of the market from what they're going to buy at their wholesaler. So this last piece of the pie is pulling in the wholesale prices in real time and connecting that with the retailer catalog. And what we're seeing is we already have the hardest part done for everybody. You're welcome for everybody else in the market. We've been beating our head against the wall for 15 years, educating the market and building tools for the retailer and getting that out there. And we've done that. And now we're backing into the wholesale side of it. And the wholesalers are now able to, with FizTrade and Platform Gold and, whoever else is out there, NABX up in North Dakota, we're talking with Chris and other clients of ours that are already on the platform that are either true wholesalers in the sense where they're making a two-way market like Jack Hunt up in New York, mm-hmm. Or they do wholesale business like CMI in Phoenix. And the the pieces of this is connecting the wholesalers to the retailers and completing that pricing circle and bringing that efficiency, bringing that risk mitigation, all that kind of thing, making that 100% seamless. And then also connecting our existing clients up with other wholesalers, other retailers, and expanding the trading partners and opportunities for them to, get more product faster, different areas. We have a client who has 2 different store locations, and one store he buys about 95% of his product from one wholesaler, and the other store just based on location, essentially geographic location only.
Yeah,
it's just more convenient, and the cost of shipping and the logistically
time,
speed, all these other elements, not just price,
right?
Which I know can be a concern for different folks, and pricing, but realistically, it's not just price. And a lot of times, most of the core products are very similar in price and premium.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really about the logistics of things, availability, quantity, and, the relationship in a certain extent. So for us, we're making the connections, and we want to bring all that together in one place. So that's the newest service that we have launched, and we're out beating the streets and talking to folks, and
hence you're here.
Hence we're here, and making it down to Dallas and down to Austin and the things, and so we're very excited about it, and the response has been tremendous so far. So we're excited.
Good. So obviously I got an email from one of your onboarding people to demo it for me, and
yep.
We'll do that at some point. But just so I understand it,
I'll let them know you got the email.
Yeah, thank you. Because I won't. But so essentially, we're talking about, let's say we have 4 major suppliers that we have a trading relationship with. We're talking about getting them on board. They put their pricing in. We just say, hey, we want to buy from the lowest price, and we want to mark it up a certain amount, and that's the price that's going to be published. So it's really kind of a hands-off, trying to take as much friction out and labor from our standpoint. I mean,
yes.
We try to stay as lean as possible because there's such an ebb and flow to this business. So anywhere where we can save manpower, we absolutely look for it. Right. So am I understanding it correctly?
Yes. Although sometimes you don't want to price it with the lowest.
Right.
But for various different reasons. And that's where we're really, I think, in a unique position where we're going to provide the data, and we're going to provide all the decision points for folks to make that decision, because, pricing your retail prices on your website, you don't necessarily want to tie that to the lowest premium.
Right.
Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you can decide on a per product basis. So yeah, you could connect to, Fizz Trade, Platform Gold, and Jack Hunt, and maybe even more. Let's just say those 3. StoneX. We have StoneX Europe connected in already, and we're working on the US portion of that. But so you can have 4 or 5 different wholesalers, see them all in the Nfusion dashboard. You can see all their catalogs in there. You can connect them up and map them to your SKU. So you have your SKU associated with 3, 4, 5 other wholesaler SKUs of that same product. And you can see their real-time pricing, and then premiums, pricing, and then sync if you want to. So you can associate. That's kind of the first level. You can associate so you can see it all in line for kind of price discovery and see availability and premiums. The next layer of that is to be able to sync, to pick one of those wholesalers and decide, do I want to go with who do I want to tie my premium to? And so then you can sync that, let's say to Dill Engage or Fizz Trade, and you can say, hey, these Silver Eagles, I want when Dill Engage changes their premium of the $5 coin to $5.50 or $4.50 or whatever it is, I want to capture that in real time. I want my product price to be updated with that premium change and keep my margins. That we have also rolled out. So now you have that complete pricing circle that I talked about completed, including the wholesaler price, their premium, your price, your premium, all the way out to the retail client. So there's the pricing mechanism. That whole piece is really just to advertise the price and to buy or sell on your website, right? Or in-house or however. So that pricing mechanism there. And then you have the buying side with the wholesaler. So after that transaction's done, let's say, your client comes to your website, that whole pricing mechanism worked. They ordered the Silver Eagles. Now you have a separate piece, right? So that you have the pricing component, but you also have the order side of things.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily want to route that order to the same wholesaler you priced it with in that moment. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So what we're also doing then is, although those two things are related, the pricing piece of, the product, the ordering piece is related. It is not the same. And so what we're going to do is take that order and we're going to pipe it into the dashboard, whether it's through, APIs or plugins or those types of things, and queue up that order. And then in a similar fashion, we're going to take those 4 or 5 wholesalers and all the buying components, those data bits of information. Is it a storage, buy? Is it, what's the location? What's the premium? All the decision-making points. And we're going to put that right in front of your face and allow you, to route that order for that order to the most appropriate wholesaler at the time. Yeah. It's pretty fun.
So that makes me think about the platform that GBI had set up at one point.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if they're still operating it. You're familiar
They're clients
with
of ours.
Okay.
Yep.
So they had a very similar product, or they'd built something internally that was very, very similar, where they're essentially routing orders in real time, putting them up for auction essentially, and then whoever can fulfill them under the best terms, not always price sensitive, but location, timeliness. So is there an availability or an inventory component here as well? Because all of our Silver Eagles are at spot, but we're out of stock, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. So similar, going along with that pricing component is, and all of your all of your wholesalers are going to have slightly different ways of dealing with this. So, for example, they might directly advertise inventory, or they might say something like the availability of when it might ship if you were to order, or there's kind of different ways of organizing that. They might also make only one half of the market, so they might be buying that product but not selling it, and vice versa. So our platform takes all that into account and shows you in that dashboard view, hey, for this given product, who's making a market on the side that I need? I'm buying or selling. Who's making a market on the side that I need? What's their bid or ask on that side? Do they have inventory if I'm buying? If I'm selling to them, then that doesn't apply, but are they willing to buy it? And then if those things line up and I've made my decision, then essentially just select that wholesaler and instantly execute that quote order. Usually you want to just execute an order, but maybe you want to get a quote from that wholesaler to give you their exact pricing and then accept that or not. But we still kind of support that.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah,
and we think it's going to, help solve a lot of different real problems in terms of, the inefficiencies and the challenges, not just on the pricing, but also on the ordering side of things.
Yeah.
And having, pretty much every one of our clients, and this is what has been a challenge for so long, is they're working with 3, 4, 5, 6 different wholesalers at any given time, and going into all of those different portals or checking emails or making phone calls is very inefficient. There's a lot of slippage in price and all the things. So, the vision for this is to bring it all in one place as best as we can, and bring all of those decision points into one place to let people make that decision on their own based on what that order is and, the various, components to the trading aspects of things.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that, again, small business owners can often overlook is how much of their time is spent doing relatively simple tasks. So even just the act of going between 4 portals is, over time, that's real time, which is real money that adds up, that's being spent. And even little efficiencies like putting them all into one place where you can just click a button and execute saves you time. Every minute that we can save you is a minute that you can invest in your business and growing your business, and not tabbing between portals or something like that. Other things too that kind of are intangibles that sometimes people don't think about the cost of is, for example, like reporting and audit trails. Okay. So again, each one of those systems probably has their own reporting and audit trails, but what if you want just one for you? Where are you going to maintain that? So by going through our portal, our dashboard, and doing this on our platform, you have one consolidated trail, and using our reporting system, you can report on all the orders you've done across all your wholesalers over whatever period of time that you're interested in. And for each one of those orders, there's a complete audit trail of every single thing that happened to that order from beginning to end, from when it was first quoted to when it was finally paid and fulfilled and shipped in all these different states. And you can see that all in one place. There's potentially a massive amount of time savings from that kind of thing as well.
Absolutely. And it really, from our standpoint, reliability, trust in your partners, that's a big thing. It goes a long way on the trading side, but also on the technology side, right? I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know where it lives. You mentioned the cloud, but obviously you have a really reliable platform, which is it's vital. It's vital to success, to continuing to serve our customers at a high level. I mean, the last thing we would want is for our spot price to hang somewhere, and then we're selling metal where we shouldn't be, or buying metal where we shouldn't be. So these kind of tools are really important to a small company like us here in Hero Bullion. So a couple more questions I have for you before we wrap up. Number one, everyone talks about AI.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with AI? Are you avoiding it? Are you playing with it? Like, where do you see the opportunity to integrate AI? Are you already integrating AI maybe? What's your take? I mean, you're the technologist. What are you guys thinking?
Sure.
Did I ask a bad question?
No.
It's a
great question.
Yes, everybody's talking about it. It's funny because I've been in technology for 30 years, and as some kind of software engineer or another, and so that means I've been writing code for a very long time. And the doom and gloomers will say, "Oh, AI is going to take over all the coding jobs, and there won't be any coding jobs soon." I'll just say, I'm not scared. I've been hearing that sort of thing my whole career. I've been coding long enough that the languages that we built things in 30 years ago are not the ones we use now, because it takes way too long to do the same thing. Well, AI is just another tool that makes my job easier and faster, which means with the same amount of money, I produce more working software, which means more business capital is being well used, right? And so to me, it's an efficiency. It's a multiplier for the human. It's not a replacement for the human. So do we use it in our software engineering? Yes, we do. Is it nascent and problematic? Yes, it is. Hallucinations are real, and it can be incredibly frustrating to be working with a machine that tells you that something is true and you know for sure it's false, and you tell the machine that's false and it says, "No, I assure you it's true." So that there's some work to do there with AI to continue to improve, but it's also kind of mind-blowing sometimes when you just tell it, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this thing. How would you code that?" And it spits out the code, and you're like, "Yeah, that's pretty close to how I would do that. I would change a couple of things," and then you just copy and paste that code and change it, and you just saved yourself a couple hours. So it is a multiplier. I would also say for things like documentation or website content, the ability to give it some starting point and feed it some bullet points, and then have it spit out some really nicely formatted web page for you, huge time saver. Love it.
Yeah, and I'd say on the marketing, website, business, sales side of things, we've definitely used some newer tools on contacts and putting in some prompts and having it write and do the sequencing and different things like that. So that's about the extent on the sales side. Our sales and marketing, because of the nature of our product and our service, as much as we've tried to make it as low touch as possible, it's a highly consultative process on the sales end for the most part. It's very educational. Again, it's gotten better, but mainly because it's a pretty technical piece. And so, there's a lot of things that need, a demo needs to be done, an explanation needs to be had. A lot of times we have to show and explain the service. So I think, AI has made some of my wordsmithing a little better and saved me some time, because I hate doing that stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I mean,
I'm not a writer. I'm a talker.
Oh yeah, I mean, totally. And it's just painful for me to even think of writing blog posts and things like that. So we've leveraged it for that.
Right.
But in terms of our sales and marketing and kind of onboarding process, very very little at this point. but I'm still learning. In fact, on the way here, I listened to 2 different podcasts on AI, which ones were the best ones. There are new tools all the times. And so, I think it's one of those things that we do need to, and we're dedicating time to just staying educated on them and using where we can.
Yep. So when it comes to the market, obviously you guys are a big part, as I see it, of moving this market into a more friendly, approachable, efficient market. Where do you see the market? I mean, you know who your competitors are. You probably know some of the other technology providers in the space. Where do you see the integration of technology? We always call it lava and lasers, right? We're melting silver. You saw it back.
Mm-hmm.
We pour the silver bars, but then we got this crazy technology too. We laser our pouches for our starter pack, things like that. So we call it lava and lasers. So where do you see? I think that makes it really exciting. It makes this industry really exciting. What do you see coming down the pipe?
Well, I'm excited with where we're at right now. Just with what we're doing with the integration piece of things. It doesn't exist, right? There's been folks that have done components of it in their business over the years, and now we're releasing this, and they're saying, "Oh, I wish you'd come to me 6 months ago before I had my whole team build this out and spent $50,000 doing it." But I think we've always seen the North American market be several years ahead of the international market. So for us as a company, and I think as a business as a whole, in fact, talking to multiple of our clients in Australia and in Singapore, they're a very strong interest in getting products from the U.S. So I think we're seeing more internationalization. And we're seeing the markets, at least again from our world, from going essentially more e-commerce and online types of businesses. Those markets are maturing. I mean, Australia is a little small, but there's a lot of gold business in Australia. New Zealand has been a client of ours for a long time, and Singapore's. I mean, just in the last year, we've probably brought in 5 or 6 clients from Singapore. So that's a very precious metals friendly, financial services, technology friendly environment. So we see that growing. So I think there's a lot of growth internationally. What that means exactly, I don't know. For us, it's exciting because one of the things that my sales pitch, if you will, and I believe it. One of the value that we add is we can do all that currency conversion. So all precious metals are originate in USD, and they must be converted. And mistakes that we see clients make often, especially when they go with like an e-commerce platform like a Shopify or these third parties that will do the currency conversion for you. The problem with that is their feed is delayed and sometimes even only daily, which is a very big problem. So you can't have that. That's you're going to get burned big time.
So there's business margins too tight.
Oh my goodness, and they just don't know, and they don't understand and all the things. So.
Well, it doesn't matter when you're pricing shoes, but it matters when you're pricing gold.
Right. Yeah. And so there's education there, but so for us, international, it's a big deal in opening up the trading and being able to convert, Australian dollar to the euro and vice versa. So on our platform, you can jump in, you can price in your local currency, and we'll do all the conversion on the pricing and the trading between the two, countries and 2 regions. So we're excited about that. But we see precious metals a very strong growth international, which is exciting. I think with the pricing right now too. I mean, it's getting a lot of attention.
Yeah, absolutely. We have great data on traffic on the website. People clicking certain buttons, and activity is definitely this move up has really brought a lot more attention to the space. So that's what we're here for. And you have to be positioned properly at the time that the market is primed. People are motivated. And the really interesting thing that we've experienced with this move up in metals is there are a lot of buyers. And when I say buyers, big buyers, and there's also a ton of sellers. So one of the things we did just a couple of years ago, it was the fall of 23, we rolled out our Buyback program just in an effort to be a more full service provider. Right. And so I'm sure you guys have the same kind of thing on your side. And it sounds like you're doing those. That's exciting for us. We get to feel, we feel like we take people from the cradle to the grave when it comes to metals. Right. So, do you have anything to add about what you see coming with metals in the future?
Yeah, I think that we've hit on some of these subjects, and one of the big ones is it's so much easier for business owners like yourself to do what they want to do and to sell into the sales channels that you want to sell. Okay,
Yeah.
so I want an e-commerce website. Great, fire up a WordPress site, install WooCommerce, and drop our plugin in, and it just works. Okay, but what do my developers have to do? Nothing. It's just going to work.
Mhm.
That's awesome. It didn't exist
Powerful.
10 years ago. Okay, I'd rather be on Shopify. Awesome. Install our Shopify plugin. Same thing. Okay, I want to sell on eBay. Great. We have a plugin for that, and it just works. So that right there is a huge accelerator, right, to these businesses. This wholesale piece Joe's talking about that rolling out now, like making it so much easier for the business owners to do their job, it improves the market for everybody. And we talk about these problems with inventory. Okay, so if we can connect wholesalers and retailers across the country, and maybe you do a massive buyback, well, now you've got inventory. Maybe somebody else wants that inventory.
Mhm.
Can you guys connect? Yeah, right. And so how do we make that reduce the friction on that so that you guys can focus on what you're doing, grow your businesses, and make those kinds of transactions easier, more transparent, and faster, right? So yeah, I think that there's a lot of opportunity there.
So if people are interested, they want more information about what we've talked about, they're interested in your product, where's the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah, I think just starting on the website, we've got a couple places you can jump in and just to contact us or submit for a free trial or a quote. Sales at nfusionsolutions.com, and there's no I in front. It's NFUSION.
Yeah, up here.
Up there, yeah. And we're not Infusionsoft either.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's Nfusion Solutions. So yeah, just jump to the website and put out a form request, and we'll be in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It was I was glad we were able to put this together in such short notice, and you guys making yourself available. It's huge. So we really appreciate it here.
Yeah, appreciate the offer.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us in. Great facilities.
Thank you.
Great company.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Congratulations. Yeah,
All right.
thanks.